Can you see me okay on there?
Yeah, I could do with cleaning my glasses though, but I can see you.
Yeah, okay. But they won't see that.
What?
Your mucky glasses.
Oh, I thought you said, can I see?
Yeah. Can you see me on that?
Yeah, but I'm short-sighted, so I need my glasses.
Yeah, I know.
Oh, on the screen.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're on there.
Okay, so when somebody's watching it back, will they be able to see me?
Yeah, can you see me?
I can see you, yeah. So, welcome everybody to another episode of
The Choose Life podcast.
Yeah, that worked. So a couple of people were a bit confused last week.
Confused.
Because we've rebranded the podcast.
Perplexed.
But it was fairly successful last week.
I think so. I don't know how many views did it have.
Do you know? I don't know, and I've got none of my devices in here to be able to have a look. So I can't have a look.
Devices in your hand.
But I haven't got devices in my hand.
Do we have a look?
Well, I mean, you can.
I've got it here. Look, I've got a device in my hand.
So thank you to everyone who's watching. Thank you to our subscribers. If you're watching this right now and you're not subscribed,
why not? It's free.
And if you're watching this and you are subscribed or you do have an account and aren't subscribed, please give it a thumbs up.
Because it tickles the algorithm.
Because sometimes we get like 150 views on stuff and like 23 thumbs up. So please think about giving it a thumbs up if you like it. And if you don't like it, please don't give it a thumbs down.
No.
Just switch off.
Because it make him a sad hutch.
Sad hutch. After last week's podcast dropped. What?
Rick's got 100 subs.
Has he?
Yeah. He's got
Wow.
100. Well done, Rick.
That's unbelievable how quick.
We know before he knows.
He might know.
He doesn't because it's literally just happened.
Did you see it tick over?
Someone told me they'd just subbed and he's got his 100.
What, one of your friends?
One of our...
Is it Carp DM?
No, it's one of our friends, one of our subscribers. I put it in the Discord.
Oh, wow.
Said that it was 98. It'd be amazing if we could get him to 100 tonight. And he's at 100. Actually, let me check, because he might be at more than 100.
Oh, I might have to message him.
He's at 100.
I'm going to get a message.
100 subs, Rick.
I bet he won't look.
How pleased were we when we got 100? We were proper buzzing when we got 100.
Do you know what, though? We weren't...
a massive milestone, isn't it?
Yeah, we didn't even have 100.
It's harder to get 100 than it is to get 500.
Yeah. Yeah, 100 was hard. I was at less than 100 for almost a year.
Because you have to work a little bit harder, don't you, to try and engage new people. Once you've got more people, it's easier to engage more people.
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
A domino effect, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Let me just message him, and I'm not even going to edit this out. We'll keep this little bit in the podcast because it's quite nice. I think these are our friends. These are our.
I love Rick, and
these are our family.
Like to know a little bit more about Rick and his story.
Well, you can watch the podcast.
Which one?
The one that we did with him.
Does it talk about where he did his training?
Oh no, you want to know? Yeah, you want to know more about his training and stuff, don't you? Okay.
I want to know the ins and outs, the nitty gritty. Who he knows that I know.
Might not be any.
I bet there is. I bet he knows some people that I know. Do you know who he reminds me of? Brian Gibson.
Don't know who that is.
He's quite a famous psychic.
Oh.
He'd be flattered, I think. Apart from...
Well, Brian Gibson would.
Yeah, he would actually. Brian Gibson would be flattered at being... compared to Rick.
So, all this talk of Rick's amazing. Rick Paul is superb. If you're watching this right now and you haven't watched Rick's channel, go over and check him out. He's called Rick Paul.
Waistcoat Man, the Urban Angel.
Yeah, and you can also check out the podcast that me and him did together. It's under our live section as well.
And he's going to do a live with
Fortune Curry. Yeah. Cookie. Fortune curry.
Fortune curry.
Oh, I love a good fortune curry.
Curry with
There's nothing worse than when you're tucking into your lambooner and you get a bit of paper and you're like, oh, what's that? Oh, hang
got
on.
good fortune.
It says here, man who eat hot curry, get Bernie bum. So after we did the drop podcast last week, we got some comments, some quite nice comments, and another one of our good friends, another good friend of the channel, Gemma, who actually has just been Rick's 100th sub.
Yeah.
Gave us some ideas on things that we could discuss. And one of the things that really stuck out for me was talking about working with professionals. I think that's something that me and you both know from both sides, don't we?
Yeah.
We know what it's like to work with professionals. We know what it's like being professionals working with people in services. And I think it's something that we can talk about. But I don't necessarily think all our subscribers will like what we have to say. Because, I mean, I can look at being a professional and working with people from many different aspects.
I think it depends on what kind of professional you are, because that comes with your own sort of integrity and your own moral compass, doesn't it, as to how you perform your profession.
Yeah,
and
I agree.
I've worked with some amazing professionals who are really creative and think outside of the box and are really person-centered, and some of those could be quite frowned upon by other people within the profession because they don't seem to be professional enough, like in terms of like the professional language we use. But you know, people are people, aren't they? They're not words, and they're not books and literature, and you do have to adapt your style. And then I've worked with other professionals that are so straight-laced that they're unable to adapt their style, and sometimes the narrative fits what they can get to make it fit, and that's where you get problems where people say, oh, my nurse or my psychologist or my doctor, they don't understand, they don't listen, because they think they know what's wrong, but they don't actually hear what people have to say. And I think you have to hear someone's story.
It's such a massive subject because there's going to be service users who are complete arses and think that every professional that's working with them is against them because of the way they are. There's going to be some professionals who treat service users like pieces of dirt, which then gives that service user the thought that everybody's against them when probably one of them is just a dick.
You get people with persecutory ideas, don't you? So you could go in there with all the best of intentions, but still come out not winning that person over.
Yeah, some people don't want to be helped. I've worked with people where you give them the advice, especially with young people, where you give them the advice and you help them and you do loads of stuff for them, loads of stuff with them, and then one thing goes wrong. Well, no one ever helps me. You're like, well, we've been telling you this and we've been telling you this and we've been showing you that and we've been helping you.
That won't help.
No, that won't help. That won't help. That won't help. This, and then when everything goes wrong, well, no one's tried to help me. So you do get service users who don't want to listen, don't you?
And you can lead people. You can lead people the way, but you can't make people do anything they don't want to do. I think as well, there's often a misconception around what people need and what people want, and what's also available. And often when I deal with complaints and stuff, it's because, well, I came and my expectation was this, and this. Well, your assessment would never pertain that you would get that, and that. Your assessment pertained that this was your need. So service provision, needs and wants don't always match up, and then you get that conflict, don't you? So that's half the battle, is trying to work out what people want and then helping them understand or educating them around what their needs versus wants are. Because we all need stuff, don't we? But we all want stuff as well. But it doesn't mean just because we want it, we have to have it, and we wouldn't survive with it.
Sometimes you'll get service users who want something that's not realistic, or that professionals legally probably can't give, whether when they're like substances or contractually can't give. I know we get young people who they come and request something. Can I paint my flat? And they've got black paint. You can't paint your own flat, and if you could, you're not painting it black, like, because that's just like, we'd probably explain to them at the time why, but we shouldn't need to. Like, can't paint.
It's not reasonable.
It's not reasonable, but they don't see reasonable when you work with people who don't.
Well, to them it is reasonable because it's their flat.
Yeah, to them it's reasonable. They want it black. Why can't I have my flat black?
We've got a blue wall. That might not be reasonable to somebody else that lives here, like that after us. But I guess that's the difference between a rental property and a property that you own yourself. When you're renting off a landlord, you're obliged by their rules and wants and stuff, aren't you?
And we'll get loads of requests daily from young people. Can I borrow the Hoover? No, you can't. Why not? Because that Hoover is the office Hoover. There is a residence Hoover that you can use. But I need it now. Well, flat 9's using it. Oh, right. So I can't pay for flat. I can't have my Hoover. And then they start thinking of things that they can't have and ask for them. And then they'll go, you lot of shit, we never get anything. Like, and then I think they get, because they've had social workers that have told them no a lot, and they've had IROs that have told them no, and they've had care home support workers that have told them no. They never hear the yes. You could give them loads of stuff, and the minute you tell them no, so then I think from then in our industry, that sets them up to think throughout their life, services are shit. Nobody ever does anything for you.
But going back to the no, we shame people in the no, don't we? We from a young age, we're taught that saying no's a bad thing. It's not necessarily about opportunity or choice. Like, if you think, I don't know, if you got a kid and they've had an invite somewhere with school, and you say, oh, do you want to go on this trip? No. Yeah, you do. No. It's an opportunity. No, you go in because it'd be good for you. So we learn from a really young age that it's really difficult to say no, or it's bad to say no, and that we should always say yes. So that's, you get people that are people pleasers. It's not necessarily because they want to say yes all the time, but they struggle to say no because it's entrenched in us. So when people hear no, it's because it's bad.
Yeah, and I suppose then the other side of it is when a kid's asking for something they really want, and they can't have it, they get told no, so then they get the negative feelings, like, want some chocolate in the shop? No, you can't. Or can we go to the fun fair? No, you can't. Can we? No? And they get them negative feelings from that no, and then no instantly becomes negative. And that's, I mean, something I talk about quite a lot on the morning walks and stuff is focusing on the positive, not focusing on the negative. And I think a lot, I don't know if it's right to say a lot, but I think there is a large group of service users in the kind of industries we work in who they will always focus on the negative. It's almost like they like to focus on the negative. Our young people do. Focus on everything's a drama. Everything's a negative. It's never the positive, because when everything's negative for somebody that's in these kind of services, everybody tends to flock to them. Everyone gives them attention. Everyone helps them out. Everyone, all the ones that are all doing really well don't get very much attention.
Those that make the most noise get the most things that they want, don't they? It's learned behaviour.
Yeah.
We all learn that, don't we? If you want something bad enough, you kick up a stink. I do it all the time. I do it all the time in shops. Like, if we're going to buy a new car and it doesn't meet my expectation, it doesn't meet what I expect, I'll have a little meltdown, and I will let it be known that I'm not happy and I'm not satisfied with the custom, to the point where, like, threatening bloody legal action and all sorts over the years, because you learn how to get your own way.
Yeah.
People learn, don't they, how to manipulate the situation. Not manipulate in a bad way, but how to make it work in your favour. And that's human nature. That's not illness or disorder. That's learning how to meet your needs. And every behaviour is to meet a need. Yeah.
So I think there is some really good people working within services, whether it's within mental health or young people or NHS or whatever. And I think there's going to be some not so good people. But I think sometimes, do you think, okay, I'll put this one to you. This isn't talking about anybody in particular. I don't want to get anybody into trouble. But I've worked with people who work with young people who, if the way they worked every day was, let's say it was Big Brother and it was scrutinized, they would probably at least be disciplined because they're quite open, they're quite loud and brash, and they swear in front of the young people sometimes, and they mess around and just probably go just that little bit too far, but not
abuse.
Not abuse, and I wouldn't even say not even say misconduct. I would say that the current world we live in says you must, let's say the prison service, you must call them Mr. Like we're in my industry, in my setting, I'm not supposed to call my young people anything except for their first names. If I've got a young person come up and I'm talking to them, I can't call them buddy or mate or pal because it's against professional
boundaries.
Yes, against professional boundaries. But do you think that we've gone too far that way? If I'm working with a young person and I'm trying to build a relationship up, I can't even fist bump a young person because it's zero contact. There's no contact. There's no positive touch. There's no fist bump. There's no mate. There's no pal. There's no going and sitting down.
That's the difference between your job and my job. Obviously, I'm a nurse, and there's a time and a place to be tactile. There's a time and a place. I always think never do with one patient that you wouldn't be prepared to do with another patient.
Yeah,
a hug. And there are people I've come across over the years. I think, I could just give her a big hug. Do you know what I mean? It's like really sad story. But if I'm not prepared to hug the next person that's come along, then I won't hug her. So I have a no hugging. But I shake hands, hand on arm. I've been known to brush people's hair out of their face when they're sad and they're upset. Sort of gentle touch has its role.
Yeah. And we used to, in the resi homes, we used to be able to put hands on. You could restrain, which I preferred not to. I mean, my last 2 years in the prison service, I barely restrained at all. Sorry, not prison service, resi homes. But we used to have a girl that lived at Angels who used to come down every night and hug every member of staff before she went to bed. And that was just, there wasn't anything wrong with it. That was just part of her nighttime routine to settle her down. She'd hug everyone and go up to her room.
Yeah, we don't do hugging. I don't know any staff that would do hugging. But I've been in someone's house who's been in absolute crisis and an absolute mess, and I've put my arm around them because that's what was needed. Like words wouldn't have worked. She needed to know that someone cared and someone had got her back.
Yeah. I think so. I guess the question that I'm asking though is, do you think we are too professional in some of these services? I know there's a time where there's going to be people who need a professional, but someone remember, I don't want to say his name, but I will do it now. If we don't use it, I can edit out. Remember Darren Carr?
Yeah.
Right. So think about what he was like in the community. Short vest, covered in tattoos.
He worked with a specific type of service users though.
Yeah. And that worked, didn't it?
Yeah. Because he needed to blend in and be just a person.
Yeah.
Not suited and booted. Because if he went in suited and booted, the people he was working with wouldn't have engaged with him.
No.
And I don't go to work suited and booted.
I don't. I sometimes wear a vest. Sorry, boss.
Because, yeah, you don't need to.
No. Jean shorts, Air Max trainers. I go in on my BMX.
We don't have jeans.
Listen to music.
I spend time, because obviously I'm office based within my ward, but I come out every day and speak to everyone that's out and about in the day room or in the kitchen, or every day I come out 2 or 3 times and make a point of sitting down and having a brew. And
I remember coming back from Disneyland. It was the summer of Marvel. I remember when we went to Disneyland. It was the summer of Marvel.
5 years ago.
Yeah, and I come back and I got a young person who absolutely loved Marvel. He lived it. He lived in the Marvel universe in his head. Like he was in a state of mourning when Tony Stark died, and he come in to the office crying because he just watched him die, and me and him were talking about Marvel, and I'd said to him, you know, I'll just come back from Disneyland. It was a summer of Marvel, and he loved it. I was telling him all about it, how we'd done the dancing on the stage with the Guardians of the Galaxy, and how we had met Captain America. I showed him a picture of us meeting Captain America, or me meeting Captain America, and he happened to mention that to one of the senior managers. And the senior manager picked me up for it and said, "Why are you telling them about your personal life?" And I said, "Because I'm building relationships with a young person."
I'm not telling him everything about the personal life.
When I showed him pictures, it was just pictures of me. It wasn't the house. It wasn't the wife or kids. He was interested. And the senior manager at the time was like, do you not realize how that will make that young person feel that you're able to go on holiday and he's not? And I said, I don't think that's how it made him feel. I think he actually really loved, I said, he lived that experience through me. And he was absolutely buzzing. And every day for about 3 weeks, he'd come and go, "Oh, tell me about the Star Wars roller coaster again. Tell me about this again." And he loved it. But apparently a breach of professional standards.
I think there's professional standards, there's relational boundaries, and there's also about your values, isn't there? And your moral compass. And I share things with my service users. Don't share everything, but I share some things about my life because you have to be You have to be relatable.
Because we're all humans.
And you have to be relevant. And if they think that you're just this stiff person who's got that so far removed from their life, then how are you ever going to help them because you don't understand them? Because you're so different. So we all pull the same faces, don't we, when we're
pooing
or
we're human
or whatever.
I don't pull the same face as you, I don't think. You pull like a thank God it's over face, and so.
But yeah, you got to be relatable.
Yeah.
But you've also got to be safe, and I think not all my patients I would want to know a lot about me personally, so I never share like my location of where I live. I never share pictures of my home. I never share pictures of my family, or my ID on Facebook is not my name. So I can't be found, because you just never know who you're going to come across. Not just because people are mentally ill doesn't make them dangerous or horrible people, but people are horrible and nasty people regardless.
So they exist.
Yeah, whether they're mentally ill or not. So you don't put yourself in a vulnerable position where people could.
No, you know what? When I was working in resi homes, there was a member of staff that had an accusation against them that they had been taking a young person back to their house with them and having an affair, and the young person had described in detail the house, the garden, the bedroom, the colours and everything.
And they found them on Facebook.
No, not just found them on Facebook. The member of staff had been showing them pictures for weeks and weeks.
Crazy.
Of the house.
Crazy.
And the young person knew everything. What wall the TV was on, what colour the bedding was.
My friend had who worked in a secure hospital, had a friend with a similar circumstance, because a relative found them on Facebook and then pretty much stalked them, and then that patient, high secure patient, then went and put in a complaint and said this person had been doing X, Y, and Z, and could describe quite intimate details of her life.
Yeah.
So you got to be cautious about what you share.
I remember a guy in the prison service coming home once, and he had a wreath on his doorstep with his wife's name on it.
So we can't give gifts, and we can't accept gifts. If you take a gift from a patient, that's against our NMC code of professional conduct. But if a patient buys you a box of chocolates, they go in the office, don't they? Everyone shares them. It's not a personal gain. But if a patient was to buy you a gold necklace, you couldn't accept it.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
And there have been occasions. I mean, I've worked with some really vulnerable, lonely, sad cases over the years. You know, people have got nothing, and people have got no one and no money. And I remember, it wasn't that long ago, a lady I worked with, she loved Lilo and Stitch.
Yeah.
Absolutely lovely Low and Stitch. And I saw a cup in Asda that I got,
I remember this.
and I bought it, and I thought I need to, like, because our patients use their own mugs at work, and I thought, oh, I'll just cheer a day up.
What? Mental patients are allowed their own cups?
Yeah, but on some wards they're plastic stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah, ours just use, sort of normal household stuff. And I thought, oh, she'd probably love that. That'd perk her up. She'd had a bit of a rough time, so I bought it. But I'm physically not allowed to give a gift to a patient, so it just went in the kitchen, and it was like, I didn't whistle to her.
Oh, yeah.
Instead of a name, and let's just call her
Joan.
Joan. I was like, Joan, someone's donated some cups and there's one left over. I'd be quick if I were you because it's Lilo. She's like, oh, thanks. So she never knew I bought it.
Yeah.
So that's not a gift. So yeah, as long as they don't know.
Yeah.
And I've had people bring in clothes.
I did donate. I donated to the project.
You have to donate to everybody, not just to one.
I donated to the entire project a stack of DVDs, and within that stack of DVDs, there was 4 or 5 UFC DVDs that I knew one of our young people would be very interested in. And when I donated that stack of DVDs, I said, "There's a stack of DVDs in there, Johnny, little Timmy." Some of them might be UFC ones. And he went and he took them and he watched them on his room and he put them back. And that's because that's a way round. But what a world we live in where we can't.
Well, you just got to be careful, haven't you, that
you're not alienating certain people.
Not alienating them, but it couldn't be seen as taking advantage of people, or that they owed you a favour, or because that's how grooming starts, isn't it? I'll do you a favour and then someone owes you something. So that's not my intention.
No.
By doing something nice for somebody, but people that groom do nice things for people all the time.
Yeah. But on the flip side of that, with the young people, is if you've got a house full of kids, 5 or 6. I mean, we've got 9 at the moment, and you're bringing stuff in for 2 or 3 of them.
It's not fair on
It's not fair on the others. I used to go and buy pizzas. I'd be like, oh, I'm gonna donate pizzas. So I would go buy 9 pizzas, and it cost you £9 from Iceland, and then you'd cook all 9 pizzas and invite all the young people.
Yeah, you invite everybody.
And you might know full well that only 2 of them are going to come.
But you include everybody.
Everybody.
Anyone. I often buy biscuits and leave them the same as I do for staff. I would never think.
No, baby. Yeah, no, we're not live. We're just recording.
I would never think, right, who's on tomorrow? Oh, I'm not taking in biscuits because I don't like them ones. Obviously, working with people and staff, you're going to like some staff more than others. You're going to get on with some people more than others. But again, you can't treat them any less or any more favourably.
No.
You wouldn't be like, oh, I'm not bringing in biscuits tomorrow because Penelope's on and I can't bear her. But I'll bring in biscuits on Thursday because it's Roberta and I like her.
So I think there's probably within our industry there's probably 2 types of staff. There's probably more, but I think normally there's the staff who do the job because they really give a shit about the young people, and they're decent and they get on and they do their job and they care. And then you get the ones who come into the industry because it's an easy job to get. You only need to be able to get through a DBS. You don't really need that many qualifications to start on the shop floor. It's literally a little bit of common sense, and they tend to have them ones tend to have a bit of a shitty attitude towards kids. You get ones that come in and they think that everything the kids do is against them and the kids shouldn't get anything and they should always be punished. And
criminals, though, are they?
And you find actually it's funny, we'll come to that in a minute, but
well, they might be, but you're not the.
Yeah, what you find is that the ones like myself, because I'll blow my own trumpet or whatever, the ones that are like me, who I genuinely care about the young people, and I will piss off management by doing something against what they want if I think it's for the best of our young people, because I care about the young people I work with. And I've never been assaulted by a young person. I've had a few restraints, but I've never been assaulted by a young person. I've never really had a bad relationship with a young person. Whereas I've seen people that come in and they're complete dicks, and I've seen staff that have been assaulted 4 or 5 times.
They don't last in the industry, though.
They don't last. No, not at all.
If you can't be kind And it all starts with kindness, doesn't it?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I've had and have staff or over the years where they get it wrong. Like you're working with people. I've done it myself. You go in with pitching it one way, and you think, oh no, that probably wasn't the brightest thing to say in this moment because you didn't quite realise that they've had a rough morning, or there's been a difficult conversation, or there's an anniversary, and then you can see the tumbleweed. But if your intent is kindness, and your intent is to do no harm, and your intent is to do good, then even when you make mistakes, that can kind of be. I've got a lady who, yeah, she's autistic and she's very literal, and she will often misinterpret how things are said to her because her perception's very negative, her perception's very views the world through shit tinted glasses, so she projects lots of negativity towards herself, so she automatically assumes people are being negative. So, and I'm like, that wasn't my intent. My intent wasn't to upset you. My intention. So yeah, you have to kind of but not everybody has good intent.
No. And again, like what you're saying there, I think there is some people, again, because I see loads of this on social media. The NHS is shit. These staff, they've never done anything for me. All they do is fob me off, and I think to myself, but that's not what the NHS does, because if they did, they would do it for everyone.
I also think like the NHS, it's an amazing system, isn't it? It's like world class healthcare. You don't get it anywhere else in the world, do you? Where it's free at the point of contact for all. And some people have some things that are really like specialist and odd and different and unusual, and you've got to go a long way away from home to get those treatments. And it's not a bottomless pit. That sometimes it's like that's not available to you.
Yeah. No, I get it. So I think
We had a friend, didn't we? His son had a really rare cancer. They couldn't treat it in this country, and it was the Make a Wish Foundation that paid for him to go to America. There was some sponsorship from the NHS. They paid for some of the treatment, but they didn't pay for it all.
No,
because there are like 20 kids a year get that in this country. And I mean, it's doing amazing now.
Yeah.
But at the time,
yeah, and I think sometimes it's expectation again, isn't it? But
and sometimes people don't know what's wrong with them, and you can go from one specialist to the next specialist to the next specialist, and people's symptoms change, and they're not always sort of what we call atypical, where this is my list of symptoms, and you cross-reference and match it up. All right, you've got this wrong with you, because some things kind of correlate across several illnesses, don't they? And then you add medication in, and you get side effects, and then you got a whole new host of problems and symptoms, and I guess things can affect mobility, and then mobility can affect your internal organs and weight. So you end up with people with lots of problems as a result of an initial problem, and it's knowing which one to treat first.
Yeah.
Do you go to neurology? Do you go to physio? Do you go to mental health? Do you go to psychology? Do you go to counselling? Do you go to endocrinology?
And then you go to all of them, and it's nothing's answered, and then you go back to the first one, and it's somebody new who's dealt with something before, and this, just because you're a specialist doesn't mean you know everything.
Well, we knew a specialist who delivered somebody's baby and it died. Specialist in his field, wasn't he? Delivered thousands of babies.
Yeah.
Like, they're not perfect, are they?
No. And then they go back to the original person, and they go, well, actually, it's been this all along. Go, oh, the service is shit. I've been all around the houses just to come back, and they should have diagnosed me with this first time.
Because they have to start off, because you can't go to the doctors with a cough and then go, do you know what, we're going to investigate you for cancer.
Yeah.
Because it starts off, okay, you got a persistent cough. Have you got a chest infection? Treat you with antibiotics. Still persistent. So they work up all the time. They don't go in with the most expensive diagnostic tests. They have to assume it's something simple and then rule those things out.
And again, like we're saying about specialists, do you remember our friends little one who had the heart problem.
Yeah.
And they were at the best heart hospital in the country,
Yeah, they were.
and the specialist had come and said, "I'm sorry, there's nothing we can do. Prepare for the worst." And as it happened, I'm getting a bit emotional about it. It upsets me a little bit.
They even
And
read him his last rites.
yeah, and they said,
At 4 weeks old.
yeah, and they said, oh, as it happens, the country's leading heart surgeon.
He was American, wasn't he? I think.
Oh, was he American? I don't know. There was
he was visiting.
Yeah, he was visiting. He just happened to be visiting the hospital. We're going to have a word with him. And that at that time, that surgeon went, yeah, I know what that is. We'll do it. And they did it there. And they operated. And they said they were operating on valves in the heart that were smaller than the eye of a needle.
Crazy. Isn't it?
And like, if that specialist hadn't have been there, the best heart surgeons in the country couldn't do it at the best heart hospital. But one person who was visiting from whether he was from America or wherever, went, actually, I do know what this is.
Yeah, I've done it before.
I've done it before. That's crazy, isn't it?
And a lot of that's down to luck, isn't it?
Yeah.
And it could have gone totally different for him, couldn't it? Like,
yeah. And not everyone can know everything, and that comes right down to anything, doesn't it? That comes right down to what we do, where people are going, oh, actually, I've got a bit of a creaky elbow and it hurts when I do this. Have you got any exercises for that? No, I haven't. Well, you're a shit personal trainer then. If you can't fix my elbow.
You're not a physio though, are you?
No. And even physios might not be able to do it.
It's the same thing with like mental health nurses. Well, tell me all about this. I think, I don't know. I don't know every aspect of every, because there's so many. I suppose with mental health, like physical health, you have so many specialisms. You wouldn't go to an orthopedic ward with a bad hip and expect them to know all about your kidney problem.
Oh yeah.
Or to know all about your eye, like your eye problem.
Yeah. Yeah, you wouldn't go to an optician's and while you was there say, do you know what? Actually, our opticians just do hearing tests, don't they? But you won't go to an optician's.
Training though.
Yeah, you won't go to an optician's and go, oh, do you know what? I've got this lump on my foot.
But even opticians go, oh, that's a bit above and beyond me. I'm going to send you to the eye hospital.
Yeah.
To go see an eye doctor.
Yeah. So just the last thing I wanted to cover actually before we go, because we don't want it to be massively long. It's 40 minutes. I just wanted to say about what we were saying quite early on about everyone's human, we're all human. And then when I said something about young people, said, oh, they're not criminals. But I used to get that loads when I was in the prison service. Oh, what's it like to work with criminals?
People.
So they're just people
who've made mistakes.
Yeah, some haven't even made mistakes.
Some of them are good people that have just made an honest mistake, and some of them are bad people that didn't make a mistake. Yeah. He did it on purpose.
I used to lock this guy up. His name was Paul. He was from Portsmouth, and he was just a regular down to earth guy. He was a builder, and he got a wife and a kid, young family. He was only in his 20s, and when he had been in his teens, he had got in with some football hooligans, and he had been out fighting. He said, "My first time I went out fighting as a football hooligan," he said, "I got nicked, and I went to court, and they gave me a 2-year suspended sentence." And it was 7 years. 7-year sentence, suspended for 2 years for ABH, whatever it was. So and then 6 months later, he was out drinking, and somebody glassed his girlfriend. He said didn't mean to. He said there was a fight going on. This guy threw a glass, hit his girlfriend in the side of the head. He said, and I just saw red. He says, and I ran over to him and I punched him really hard. And he fell to the ground. He said, on top of me, I punched him 4 or 5 times. Before I know it, undercover cops that were in the bar grabbed me, arrested me. Got 7 years. He said, and yes, I shouldn't have attacked that guy. He said, but he just glassed my missus. I saw red, and now I'm doing 7 years.
Lots of people have red mist come down there, don't they? Everyone's got. None of us could say that there wouldn't be a circumstance where we would potentially lose our temper and hurt somebody if you were feeling under threat, or if
somebody glassed you in a bar, I'd lose my temper.
Yeah.
I would.
I'd probably lose my temper.
Yeah. And you couldn't, and I knew a few cases like that. I knew a guy who was a university student, and he'd put someone in a coma with one punch. Punched him, knocked him to the ground, banged his head on the curb, coma.
That wasn't his intent, is it? And that's about,
But I think he got 4.5 years for that.
About people's intent, isn't it?
Lost his uni place and everything.
But then you've got the victims of that as well, haven't you?
Yeah, you have. But in both them cases, and I'm not saying this is for all, on both these cases, so the first one, there was the victims, but the guy just throwing a glass in a bar.
Yeah.
Well, the young university student who hit someone, he had been in a nightclub. Again, it's all seems to be around drink. He'd been in a nightclub and 3 or 4 lads had beat his brother up. And he said, we knew who they were. And he said, when I left the nightclub, I saw one of them. So I ran over and punched him and hit him once.
So it's premeditated though, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah. I'm not saying he's right or wrong, but what I'm saying is they were just normal people that were in prison. And like I'd sit and this Paul, the guy from Portsmouth, he said play PlayStation with him, he said play guitar with him. Like he was just a normal guy.
Yeah. Easy prisoner though, not giving you any lip.
He was a really good prisoner. I had some really, really good prisoners. I could tell loads of stories. I really should.
Ah, you should do. I've got some really good patients. We made one a birthday cake today.
Did you?
Well, I didn't make it. Night staff made it, and my colleague finished it off.
I'm always a little bit wary when young people have made something. You come upstairs, see chocolate brownies on the side. Oh, chocolate brownies. Who's made them? You like that? And they go, it was John. Oh.
Do you remember when I come to your place to do a session with the young people?
Yeah,
And you brought a load of biscuits. And you brought some of the young lads up, and they were there. And you were like, "Do you want a biscuit, man?" I was like,
No,
I don't.
All right.
Oh, and you're all right. You love a biscuit.
All right. I remember them two grubby fingers in the biscuits.
Like, you sure? I was like, yeah. I only ever eat anything at work if I know the patient really, really well and trust that they're immaculate, or if I've seen it being made. So we'll eat their food.
I will eat stuff that young people have cooked. If it's a young person I know their flat's half decent and they're a decent young person, I will eat it.
But yeah, obviously people with long-term chronic mental health problems who've lost lots of skills, not all of them, but some of mine don't have the best personal hygiene.
No. I've worked with a lot of young people that got terrible personal hygiene.
Yeah.
I wouldn't even sit down in their flats, let alone eat something they cooked in there.
Skill. I opened someone's door the other day and I was like, gee.
Yeah.
We need to get some bin bags and some clean bedding and get a window open. But our windows don't open very far for obvious reasons.
So I've quite enjoyed this little conversation tonight.
Yeah.
And I hope all the subscribers have enjoyed it. I think we've been very serious tonight.
Very serious.
We have.
Very serious.
So I think at the weekend we will do a bit of a comedy live. People love our little lives.
Yeah, but we're not funny.
I'm funny.
Oh, shall we see how many Rick's on now?
I've just messaged him. I
want to see how many he's on now before we go, because somebody else has subscribed.
He said.
Oh, he's messaged on Discord.
He said his head is buzzing, but he's not sure what for.
What do you mean he's not sure? Maybe he's having a message from the other side.
He messaged me.
He's on 101.
He messaged me and said, I messaged him and said, check your subs, you're on 100. And he says, oh, is that good then? I said, put it into context. It took me a year to get to 100. And he just replied and said, my head is buzzing. I'm not sure with what.
Oh.
Oh, well. Right, anyway. So,
fig roll.
No, I'm not having anything. I'm not having anything because I am like an addict. When it comes to sugar and things like that, I'm like an addict. I will have one thing that is sugar, and before I know it,
you're like Pac-Man.
I've got it all around my face. What fig rolls? What chocolate brownie? So I've just got to cut it out completely.
Take it or leave it.
I have to cut it out completely.
I'm going to make a sandwich tomorrow for work, so I don't keep eating Rice Krispie bars.
I'm going to take it out. Right, shall we wrap it up?
Rainbow salad.
Yeah, rainbow salad. Thank you to everyone who continues to watch. Thank you to everyone who subscribes.
Thank you.
And
don't forget to hit the like.
Don't forget to hit the like. Don't forget to hit the subscribe. I doubt very many people watch to this point.
If you watch to this point, put in the comments the word rabbit hutch.
Ball bag. Rabbit hutch. Yeah. I think we've said that before and then forgot we'd said it and then we never got that word. So if you watch it all the way to the end, write rabbit hutch.
Rabbit hutch.
Rabbit hutch.
He does. Rabbit, 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 rabbit.
And enjoy the rest of your week. Have an amazing weekend. Don't forget we will be live on Sunday night.
Sunday?
We're doing any other lives this week?
Don't know. We'll see what happens. Should we do Friday?
I mean, we could do Friday. We'll do a Friday, a late Friday.
Yeah, we'll see who else is live. I don't want to clash with anyone.
No, we'll see what's live. Friday nights tend to be pretty busy.
Yeah.
But we could always do it.
Goes live on a Friday, doesn't he?
No, he's doing Sunday now.
Oh, okay.
He'll do 7 till 8 on a Sunday.
He's live
every night. Every
all
night.
week.
So get out there this week.
And achieve your goals.
Cheesy goals.
Cheesy goals.
Someone said it before we go. Someone said to me today, they commented on one of the shorts. I had to clean my ears out. I could have sworn you said cheesy goals.
Achieve your goals.
And choose life.
Choose life. Choose a car.
Oh, I can't finish it. Can we choose life?